All right, what is up, you guys? Today, I just want to give you an inside look at a really high performing ad account. This is an ad account that has spent over 100 grand in the last 30 days. It has about a 30x return on ad spend right now. And I just wanted to open it up and show you guys what one of these looks like, how to set one up yourself, and just understand the account structure, the ad creative, all the things that you need in order to generally just have success with ads, but even to manage some of these larger spend accounts as well. Okay, so I have the ad account pulled up here, and as you can see down at the bottom, we have $139,000 spent over the last 30 days. And if we move this AI assistant thing out of the way, we see we have a purchase ROAS of 31x for the ad account as a whole over the last 30 days. So there's a few things that I want to point out to you guys in terms of how this thing is set up and what you guys can implement for yourself for your own ad accounts. But one of the main things that I want to say is that overall, this account structure is really simple. It's probably nothing that you've never seen before. You're going to have a main acquisition conversion campaign, bidding on purchases with broad interest targeting. You have a remarketing campaign where we have a lot of audience segments added in there. There's going to be site visitors, email engagers, things like that. And then the last two that I have right here are just simple Advantage Plus creative campaigns. One is focused on high inventory products because they're trying to sell out of some of the things that they have surplus inventory in. And then one is just a simple and broader type of campaign for all products as a whole. Now, to give you a little bit of a background on this client, they are a women's fashion brand targeting mid-20s, lower 20s, kind of like the college age range, but it's really trendy on college campuses with college students. And they've had a few pretty big launches here, which is one of the reasons why their ads have done pretty well. So just something to keep in mind as we talk through creative and our targeting. Really, this brand is focused at that target demo. So if we click into the main acquisition campaign, so that's our new customer prospecting, there's just really two key audiences right here. And that is a Shopify lookalike audience and then a broad lifestyle and apparel audience with the age range of 18 to 40 years old. So I think one of the things that right now I'm seeing on Facebook is broader demographic targeting tends to work a lot better, especially in comparison to more narrow interest and demographic targeting. So even though this brand is mainly targeted at women 22, 23 years old in that age range-ish, even opening up some of our targeting options to 18 to 40 years old tends to perform a lot better from what I've seen. So if we scroll over to the right, we have our purchase ROAS at a 55x and a 23x. Obviously, some really exciting, impressive numbers for them. But just keep in mind that outside of Facebook ads, they do have a lot of influencer marketing, different things like that. So there's a lot of marketing coming in from a lot of different angles. It's not only just Facebook by itself. Okay, so I've opened up the lookalike audience just to show you some of my settings. We have women only targeted still, but we are keeping up with that broader age range going from 18 to 40 years old. But for our lookalike audiences, we have a standard 2% lookalike audiences. We have an engagers list from Instagram, and then we have a all purchasers list from Klaviyo. So again, we're kind of sticking with the theme of adding a lot of segments into one audience and just overall keeping everything a little bit more broad for our targeting. Okay, and now for our interest targeting ad set. So we're still sticking with 18 to 40 years old age range, women in particular. And then for our detailed targeting interest, we have everything grouped in here into one. So we're not breaking it out to specific retailers or specific brands. Everything is getting condensed down into one thing here. So we have Abercrombie and Fitch, home goods, travel, frequent travelers, vacations, LA, pajamas. So it's not even broken out specifically by fashion versus a specific type of brands or a specific type of activity. Really, what we're trying to do with this one is keep all the interest, all the activities, everything that this target demo of women in their mid to early 20s would be interested in. So that's going to be things like travel, self-care, healthy lifestyles, different things like that. We just want to group all of these into one audience. Okay, and now we have our remarketing or retargeting campaign pulled up. And the interesting thing about this campaign in specific is since we already have Advantage Plus campaigns running where they're also incorporating some remarketing audiences as well in there, we just have this limited to a little bit lower budget, but it still serves a really important purpose in terms of the types of controls that we're adding to it. So I'll go ahead and open this up. Okay, so taking a look at our remarketing campaign or our audience specifically, there's a few things I want to point out, which first off, if you're doing any kind of remarketing, one of the main things that you want to include is exclusions for this right here. Purchases in the last 90 days or anything like you're a recent site visitor, or not necessarily you're a recent site visitor, but if you've purchased anything recently, you want to go ahead and remove them from this audience because the likelihood that they're going to come back and buy again is going to be a little bit lower. And you can also include that group within your Advantage Plus targeting specifically. So the way I have this set up is we're excluding everyone who's bought something within the last 90 days. That's coming from two sources, which is from their Klaviyo and then also just from the Facebook pixel itself. And then for our inclusions, it's very broad. Sometimes people will break it out by website viewers in one audience versus Instagram engagers in another audience. But for the sake of what we're doing here, we have this all grouped together under one audience. For Instagram, 180 days engagers, website view contents, add to carts on the site, as also including Klaviyo SMS and email engagers as well. So generally speaking, we're sticking with our broad targeting theme that we've been talking about, really opening up this remarketing campaign to all types of different groups, even outside of our target demo age range of early to mid 20s, or even up to 40 years old in our prospecting targeting. Okay, guys, now we're getting into a bit more of our exciting audiences. This is an Advantage Plus creative campaign. You can see there on the right, it has a 31x ROAS. And over the last day, it's spent about $60,000 total. So there's really two main high spend campaigns in this account. One is this Advantage Plus campaign. The other is also an Advantage Plus campaign, but the difference between the two is one is limited to high inventory products. And so we just want to allocate budget specifically towards those to help them sell out of some of that inventory. Okay, guys, to pull up some of the settings that I have from here, Advantage Plus campaigns work really well when you can give them some engaged segments. So an engaged segment is something that you're going to give Facebook as a signal to say, hey, here's who my customers are. So you can do this through Klaviyo, you can do it through the Pixel. You're just trying to take as much data as you can and send it to Facebook to give it a signal as to who your target demographic is. So for my engaged segment that I made for an engaged audience and for existing customers, the existing customers I took from the last 180 days from the Pixel information, the data it has, along with a full customer list import from Klaviyo. And something similar with the engaged audience as well. You can export list from Klaviyo saying, here's the people who are engaging with my emails, whether it's a click, whether it's a scroll, whether it's people just opening the emails. We want to create a list of those specific people and upload that into our engaged segments. And then if I open up this campaign into the ad set level, again, we're going super broad with our targeting. We're going up to 40 years old, and then including all demographics, all interest, and behaviors in our detailed targeting section. Okay, guys, so I wanted to pull up a few ads here just to show you what is succeeding from a creative focus. Because, of course, creative is definitely one of the biggest parts that can lead you to success with your ads. So, just to show you what ads are scaling well here, this one has spent about $16,000 over the last 30 days. And really, the main points that I wanted to point out here was, first off, with the ad copy, it's not super extensive. It's just a one sentence of ad copy. And a lot of people think that you have to really maximize your ad copy in terms of length or how you're going to hook in a user. And there are specific times and places for that strategy, but it really comes down in a lot of ways to knowing your brand that you're working with, whether it's your client brand, whether it's your own brand. But for this brand specifically, it has a more aspirational and refined kind of aesthetic or brand feel to it. So you really want to mimic that in your ad copy as well. So it just has that one-liner there, sporty essentials with a vintage feel. And I think that word vintage is also really important because if you look at the demo that we're going after, it's mid-20s women, early 20s women, and the vintage aesthetic is really popular right now. And that's something that's getting replicated in that second shot where you have the woman there standing up against the lockers. It kind of replicates that more vintage feel, even though this is a part of their sportswear line. Okay, ad number 2. So if you think of the Hamptons or you think of Charleston, South Carolina, you think of Cape Cod, those kind of areas out on the coast, that's super popular with this demographic as well. People who are women who are in their mid-20s who want to travel to some of these coastal cities. And this ad also, one thing I think it does really well is it ties in that vintage feel that we were talking about in that previous ad as well. So even though it's summertime, you can run ads for like a summer sweater look and it'll still do really well. So you don't have to have a crazy video. You don't have to do a carousel. You don't have to do anything over the top, really. As long as you're keeping that brand continuity where you have a refined and aspirational kind of vintage look to the ad, I think that's one of the reasons why this ad is doing well and scaling to about $12,000 over the last 30 days. Okay, another really simple ad that we have right here. Again, there's no GIF, there's no animations, there's no video content in it. Just a really simple static ad. But one thing it does really well is it contrasts with the logo and the background behind it. So you don't have to catch attention by anything loud that you say or anything creative that you're doing in terms of the ad copy. One of the ways that you can stop the scroll is by simply being high contrasting and still keeping that aspirational and motivational style and feel to the ad. Okay, now the very last ad that I want to show to you guys. This one has a bit of a different angle because it's not necessarily targeting their sportswear line or going after kind of like that athleisure line of apparel. This is actually targeting new mothers, and it still has a little bit of a vintage look, especially with the linen focus. Definitely still keeping that refined and aspirational feel with the background pattern and with the shirt that she's wearing. But the big thing I want to point out here was that with these Advantage Plus campaigns, you can actually incorporate a lot of different creative angles into them It doesn't have to be only focused on new mothers, for instance. It doesn't have to be only focused on just their athleisure line. You can actually group in a lot of different creative types into this one campaign, and it'll still be able to pick out who the best buyers are very well based off of Facebook's own algorithms and their own targeting intelligence that they have. So if you are going to set up an Advantage Plus creative campaign, definitely feel free to test out and try some of these different creative angles all within one campaign. Okay, so that's it, guys. I just want to give you guys a chance to take a look at a very high spending ad account, show you how the campaigns are structured, what kind of settings that I'm using as well, and also give you an inside look at some of the creative that we're also using as well to give you a bit of inspiration and also a guide for you to be able to run your own successful campaigns on Facebook. If you have any questions, drop them down below and I'll get back to each one of you guys, and I'll talk to you in the next one.